Elder Vaughn had lived for 300 years. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had watched species destroy themselves in foolish wars. He had guided the Galactic Council through countless crises. But he had never felt fear like this. Not until the humans went silent. It started 30 cycles ago. The human embassy on Nexus Station closed its doors without warning. The lights went dark. The staff disappeared overnight. No message. No explanation. Just silence. At first, the council thought it was a technical problem. Communication systems failed sometimes. But then reports came from across the galaxy. Human trade ships were pulling out of every shared space lane. Human colonies were recalling their citizens from alien worlds. Human military vessels were forming a wall around their territories, and no one could reach them. Elder Vaughn sat in his chair at the center of the great council chamber. Around him, representatives from 47 species whispered to each other. Their voices mixed together like the sound of insects before a storm. They were all asking the same question. What had humanity done? What were they planning? Ambassador Rhea of the Lorathi stood up. She was tall and thin, with silver skin that reflected the chamber lights. Her people were known as the best negotiators in the galaxy. They had solved disputes that lasted centuries. But even she looked worried now. "I've tried every channel," she said. Her voice was calm, but Vaughn could see her hands shaking. Earth does not answer. Their colonies do not answer. Their ships do not answer. In 200 years of membership, humans have never broken communication protocol. Not once. The whispers grew louder. Vaughn raised his hand for silence. "Perhaps they are dealing with an internal matter," he said. "A disease. A civil conflict. We should not assume the worst." Commander Braxis laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. He was a calorie, a species built for war. His body was covered in thick armor plates, and his forearms were strong enough to crush metal. The Kellery respected only strength, and they had learned to respect humans the hard way. "You do not know humans like we do," Braxis said. "When humans have problems, they ask for help. When humans are angry, they file complaints. When humans want something, they talk until you beg them to stop. Humans never go quiet, unless they are planning something." Scholar Neth stepped forward. He was old, even older than Vaughn. His species lived in libraries and archives. They remembered everything. Neth had spent his entire life studying humans, trying to understand the strange species from the small blue planet. "Commander Braxis is correct," Neth said softly. "I have studied every human conflict in their history. Before every major war, there is a period of silence. They stop talking. They stop negotiating. They gather their strength, and then they strike with everything they have." The chamber fell silent. Every representative was thinking the same thing. Was this the beginning of a human war? And if so, who was the target? Elder Vaughn made his decision. "We will send a diplomatic envoy to Earth. Ambassador Rhea, you will lead 3 ships to human space. You will request an audience with their leaders. You will find out what is happening." Rhea nodded, but her silver skin had turned pale. No one wanted to be the first to enter human territory during a silence. The journey took 5 cycles. Ambassador Rhea spent most of it reading Scholar Neth's reports on human behavior. She learned about their history of violence. She learned about their first contact with alien life, when they fought 3 species at once and won. She learned about their strange emotions, their loyalty to their own kind, their long memories. The more she read, the more afraid she became. Her ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of human space. What she saw made her blood turn cold. A fleet was waiting for them. Not a patrol. Not a border guard. A full military fleet, hundreds of ships arranged in perfect formation. Their weapons were powered down, but their shields were active. They were not attacking. They were watching. One ship moved forward. It was the Silent Dawn, flagship of the United Earth Fleet. Rhea had heard stories about this ship. It had fought in a dozen wars and never lost. A face appeared on her communication screen. A human male, middle-aged, with tired eyes and gray hair at his temples. His uniform was simple and clean. His expression showed nothing. I am Captain Minho Park of the United Earth Fleet, he said. His voice was flat, without emotion. You have entered human space without permission. State your purpose. Rhea tried to smile. Diplomats always smiled. Captain Park, I am Ambassador Rhea of the Galactic Council. We are concerned about the loss of communication with Earth. The Council wishes to know if humanity needs assistance. Captain Park did not smile back. He did not move. He simply stared at her through the screen. And Rhea felt like he was looking through her, seeing every lie she had ever told. Every deal she had made against human interests. Humanity does not need assistance, he said. Then perhaps we could arrange a meeting with your leaders. Elder Von wishes to speak with Admiral Tae-jun about no. The word hung in the air. Rhea had negotiated with species who ate their enemies alive. She had made peace between races that had fought for 10,000 years. She had never been refused so simply, so completely. Captain, surely we can discuss. There is nothing to discuss. Captain Park's eyes were hard as stone. Humanity has nothing to say to the Galactic Council. Turn your ships around. Return to Nexus Station. Do not enter human space again without invitation. But the screen went dark. Captain Park had ended the communication without waiting for a response. Rhea sat in her chair, staring at the blank screen. Her hands were shaking badly now. Around her, the crew waited for orders. They had all seen the human fleet. They had all heard the human captain. And they all understood what this silence meant. Ambassador Rhea gave the order to turn back. As her ships left human space, she looked at the fleet one last time. Hundreds of ships, thousands of weapons, millions of soldiers, all waiting in perfect silence. She thought about Scholar Neth's words. Humans never go quiet unless they are planning something. When she returned to Nexus Station, she would have to tell Elder Von the truth. Humanity was not broken. Humanity was not sick. Humanity was angry. And when humans got angry, galaxies burned. The silence was not an ending. It was a warning, and the Galactic Council had no idea how to respond. Ambassador Rhea stood before the Galactic Council. Her silver skin had not regained its color since her return. When she spoke, her voice trembled. They refused us, she said. Captain Park told us to leave and never return. He said humanity has nothing to say to us. The chamber erupted. Representatives shouted at each other. Some demanded immediate military action. Others called for patience. Elder Von sat in silence, watching the chaos unfold. Commander Braxis slammed his 4 fists on the table. The sound echoed through the chamber like thunder. Everyone stopped talking. This is what I warned you about, Braxis growled. Humans are preparing for war. We should strike first, before they can attack. Strike first. Ambassador Rhea shook her head. Did you see the size of their fleet? They were waiting for us. They knew we were coming before we arrived. If we attack, they will destroy us. Scholar Neth raised a thin hand. His voice was quiet, but everyone listened. I have been reviewing classified files from the archives. Files that most of you have never seen. You pressed the button, and images appeared above the center of the chamber. Old images. Images of burning cities and broken fleets. 200 years ago, humanity made first contact with 3 species at once. The Vexari, the Kelleri, and the Tauron. All 3 species attacked human colonies, believing humans to be weak and primitive. The images changed. They showed human soldiers fighting in impossible conditions. They showed human ships ramming enemy vessels when their weapons failed. They showed humans refusing to surrender, even when defeat was certain. Humans lost 90% of their military in the first year, Neth continued. Any other species would have surrendered. Humans did not surrender. They rebuilt their forces. They studied their enemies. They found every weakness. And then they attacked. The final image showed the burning homeworld of the Tauran species. The Tauran had been removed from the Council records. Most young species did not even know they had existed. Humans won that war in 3 years. The Vexari surrendered. The Kelleri signed a peace treaty. The Tauran no longer exist. Commander Braxis looked away. His people still remembered that war. They still had nightmares about it. Elder Vaughn finally spoke. "Scholar Neth, what are you saying?" Neth turned off the images. His old eyes were filled with worry. "I am saying that humans process emotions differently than we do. When they are hurt, they do not forget. When they are angry, they do not calm down. They simply wait, they plan, and when they are ready, they act with total commitment." "So what do we do?" Rhea asked. "We find out why they are angry," Neth replied. "Someone in this room has wronged humanity. Perhaps many of us have. We need to know the full list." That night, Elder Vaughn worked alone in his private chamber. He contacted every species that had dealings with humans. He asked questions. He gathered information. And slowly, he built a list of every wrong done to humanity in the last 200 years. The list was long, very long. Trade disputes where humans were cheated. Border conflicts where human colonies were attacked. Treaties that were signed and then broken. Human workers who were underpaid. Human prisoners who were never returned. Human complaints that were ignored by the Council. Vaughn had never realized how badly humanity had been treated. Each incident seemed small by itself, but together they formed a pattern of constant disrespect, constant injustice, constant failure. He understood now why the humans had gone silent. They had tried talking for 200 years. Talking had not worked. The next morning, Commander Braxis delivered worse news. "Our intelligence network has detected unusual activity in human space," he said. "Their shipyards are operating at 400% normal capacity. They are building something. Something massive." "Can we get closer information?" Elder Vaughn asked. "I have authorized a spy probe. It will cross into human space and transmit images before they can destroy it." The probe launched that evening. It was small and fast, designed to avoid detection. It crossed the border into human territory and began transmitting. The images it sent back were terrifying. Thousands of warships. Not hundreds, thousands. They filled the space around Earth like a metal cloud. Battleships, carriers, destroyers, and craft that no one could identify. All of them new. All of them armed. The probe transmitted for 12 seconds before a human weapon found it. The final image showed a single human ship turning toward the probe. Then static. Elder Vaughn stared at the images for a long time. He had seen fleets before. He had seen armies. But he had never seen anything like this. The humans were not just preparing for war. They were preparing for total war. The kind of war that ended civilizations far away aboard the Silent Dawn. Lieutenant Yuna Choi watched alien communication channels on her monitoring station. She was young but very good at her job. She could read 12 alien languages and understand 6 more. She heard everything the Council said when they thought they were speaking privately. She walked to the officer's deck and found Dr. Hannah Kim. Reviewing tactical reports, Dr. Kim was the chief diplomat and strategist for United Earth. She was small and soft-spoken, with kind eyes that could turn cold in an instant. "Report," Dr. Kim said, without looking up. "The Council is in panic," Yuna said. A small smile crossed her face. "Their spy probe found our fleet. Commander Braxis is calling for immediate military action, but the others are too scared to agree. Elder Vaughn is trying to figure out why we are angry." "Did he find out?" "He made a list. It is incomplete, but he is getting closer to the truth." Dr. Hannah Kim finally looked up. Her eyes were cold now. "Good. Let them think. Let them remember every time they ignored us. Every time they told us to be patient. Every time they said justice would come and then did nothing. What do we do when they figure it out? Nothing. We stay silent. We let them live in fear for a while longer." Dr. Kim returned to her reports. "Fear is an excellent teacher. By the time we speak again, they will be ready to listen." On Nexus Station, Scholar Neth worked through the night. He was updating his files on human behavior, trying to find some clue that would help the Council survive what was coming. Elder Vaughn found him just before dawn. "Scholar, I need to know something," Vaughn said. His voice was tired and scared. "What do humans do before they go to war?" Neth looked at him with ancient eyes. He had studied humans his entire life. He knew their history better than they knew it themselves. They go quiet, Neth said slowly. They remember every wrong ever done to them. Every insult. Every injury. Every broken promise. They write it all down. They share it with each other. They let their anger build until it becomes something cold and patient. And then they act all at once. Every plan they made in the silence becomes reality in a single moment. Their enemies do not see it coming because humans do not warn. They do not threaten. They simply execute. Elder Vaughn felt his hearts beating too fast. How do we stop them? Scholar Neth shook his head sadly. You cannot stop them. You can only hope that you are not on their list. He paused. His voice dropped to a whisper. I have seen your list, Elder. The one you made last night. Many species in this council have wronged humanity. Perhaps you should start preparing apologies. If it is not already too late. Vaughn walked away without another word. His hands were shaking. For the first time in 300 years, he did not know what to do. The silence continued. And with each passing cycle, the fear grew stronger. Admiral Tae-jun stood at the window of the war room, looking down at Earth. The planet was beautiful from here. Blue oceans, green lands, white clouds drifting across the surface. This was his home. This was what he was sworn to protect. Behind him, United Council of Nations had gathered for their final meeting before the operation began. Military commanders, intelligence officers, scientists, and diplomats filled the room. They had been planning this moment for 6 months. Now it was almost time. Dr. Hannah Kim entered and walked to his side. The council is panicking. Elder Vaughn has figured out that we are angry, but he does not understand why. He will understand soon enough, Admiral Tae-jun said. His voice was calm. It was always calm. Even when his heart burned with fury, his voice remained steady. Should I begin the briefing? Yes. It is time to remind everyone why we are doing this. Dr. Kim walked to the front of the room. She activated a display screen that showed a beautiful colony world. Green forests, silver cities, children playing in parks. The name at the bottom read, New Busan. 6 months ago, this was home to 2 million people, Dr. Kim said. Farmers, teachers, families. They had lived there for 3 generations. They harmed no one. She pressed a button. The image changed. Now the forests were burning. The cities were ruins. Bodies lay in the streets. The Vexery Syndicate attacked without warning. They claimed New Busan was in their territory, even though we had legal documents proving otherwise. They killed 40,000 civilians in one day. Men, women, and children. They did not ask them to surrender. They simply killed them. The room was silent. Many of the officers had friends on New Busan. Some had family. They remembered receiving the news. They remembered the funerals. We brought this matter to the Galactic Council, Dr. Kim continued. We showed them our evidence. We asked for justice. Do you know what they said? She played a recording. Elder Vaughn's voice filled the room. The council has reviewed the evidence. We find that this was a territorial misunderstanding. The Vexery Syndicate will pay a small fine. No further action is required. A territorial misunderstanding. 40,000 dead. A small fine. Dr. Kim turned off the recording. That was the moment we stopped believing in the council. But it was not the only reason we are here today. She brought up another image. This one showed empty farms and starving families. For 30 years, the Lorathi had manipulated trade laws against human agricultural worlds. They raised tariffs. They blocked our exports. They spread lies about human food being dangerous. Our farmers could not sell their crops. Our colonies ran out of money. The numbers appeared on screen. 12 colonies bankrupt. 8,000 farmers who lost everything. 300 children who died because their families could not afford medicine. We complained to the council 17 times. Each time, the Lorathi said they would investigate. They never did. General Daesung stepped forward. He was a large man with scars on his face and hands. He had fought in the border wars decades ago. He had seen things that still gave him nightmares. I have my own story to share, he said. His voice was rough, filled with old pain. During the border conflicts with the Kalori, they captured 400 of our soldiers. The peace treaty said all prisoners would be returned. He paused. His jaw tightened. The Kalori returned 200 bodies. They said the others had died. But they lied. We found records hidden in their archives. 200 of our people were sold as slaves. They had been working in Kelor mines for 50 years. Some of them are still alive. The room erupted in angry voices. Officers shouted curses at the Kelor. Some slammed their fists on tables. General Daesung raised his hand for silence. We brought this to the council. We showed them the evidence. They said the records were probably fake. They told us to let it go. To move forward, he looked at Admiral Taejun. I am tired of moving forward. I want my people back. Admiral Taejun walked to the front of the room. Every eye followed him. He was not a tall man, but when he stood before them, he seemed larger than anyone. For 200 years, we played by their rules, he said. His voice was quiet, but it carried to every corner of the room. We filed complaints. We waited for justice. We trusted the system they created. And what did we receive? He looked around at his officers, his soldiers, his people. We received silence when our people screamed. We received excuses when we demanded answers. We received nothing when we needed everything. He walked slowly across the room, looking each person in the eyes. They called us aggressive when we defended ourselves. They called us emotional when we mourned our dead. They called us dangerous when we asked for fairness. They were right about one thing. He stopped at the window, looking out at the stars. We are dangerous. Not because we love war. We hate war. We know what it costs. But we are dangerous because we remember. Every name of every person killed on New Busan. Every child who starved because the Lorathi wanted more profit. Every soldier sold into slavery while the council did nothing. He turned back to face them. We remember all of it. Dr. Hannah Kim spoke up. Admiral, some will ask if there is still a chance for negotiation. Admiral Taejun smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of a man who had made peace with what he was about to do. Negotiation implies they have something we want. They do not. We do not want their apologies. We do not want their promises. We want them to understand what fear feels like. We want them to lie awake at night wondering when we will come. We want them to finally, truly understand that there are consequences for hurting our people. General Daesung checked his communicator. All military assets are in position. The Vexery fleet locations are confirmed. The Kalori slave markets have been mapped. The Lorathi financial records have been copied. Civilian casualty projections? Admiral Taejun asked. 0. Every target is military or criminal. We have planned this for 6 months. We know where everyone is. We will not harm innocents. Admiral Taejun nodded. Good. We are not monsters. We are not like them. We will show them what justice looks like when it is delivered by people who refuse to forget. Captain Minho Park entered the room. He had been waiting for this moment. His ship, the Silent Dawn, would lead the first wave. Admiral, the fleet is ready. All commanders are standing by for your order. Admiral Taejun looked at his officers one last time. These were good people. Soldiers, yes, but also fathers and mothers, sons and daughters. They were not doing this because they wanted to hurt anyone. They were doing this because no one else would give them justice. Operation Silent Reckoning begins in 72 hours, Admiral Taejun said. For 200 years, we asked politely. For 200 years, we were ignored. Now, they will learn what happens when humanity stops asking. He walked toward the door, then paused. And when it is over, we will speak to them one final time. Not to negotiate, not to apologize. We will speak to make sure they never forget what we are capable of. And then we will go silent again. Because the silence is our message, and they will hear it every time they look at the stars and wonder if we are watching. Behind him, his officers began their final preparations. 72 hours. Then the galaxy would learn why humans were called the nightmare species. And this time, No one would be able to say they were not warned. The first strike came at exactly midnight, Galactic Standard Time. No warning. No declaration of war. Just silence, and then fire. Elder Vaughn was asleep when his assistant ran into his chambers screaming. By the time he reached the council chamber, every screen showed a different disaster. The Vexery Syndicate's main fleet was trapped. Human scientists had spent years studying the star near Vexery military headquarters. They had found a weakness, a way to create a gravity pulse that would lock ships in place. The entire Vexery war fleet, 400 ships, was now floating helplessly in space. Their engines would not work. Their weapons would not fire. They could only watch as human vessels surrounded them. Surrender. Captain Minho Park's voice broadcast across all channels. Your weapons are disabled. Your engines are locked. You have 1 hour to abandon your ships and transfer to escape pods. After that, we destroy the fleet. The Vexery commander tried to negotiate. He offered money. He offered territory. He offered to apologize for New Busain. Captain Park did not respond. The channel went silent. The Vexery surrendered in 43 minutes. On the other side of the galaxy, General Daesung's ground forces appeared from nowhere. Human soldiers had been hiding on Kellery trading stations for months, disguised as workers and merchants. When the signal came, they moved as one. The slave markets of the Kellor were underground, hidden from the rest of the galaxy. The Council had ignored human claims that they existed. Now everyone would see the truth. General Daesung led the raid himself. His soldiers cut through Kalori guards like water through sand. They moved fast and quiet, never killing unless they had to. Their goal was not revenge. Their goal was rescue. Deep in the oldest market, they found what they were looking for. Stasis chambers. Hundreds of them. Inside were human faces, frozen in time. Soldiers who had been captured 50 years ago, sold as slaves, and kept alive in suspended animation to work in the mines. General Daesung stood before the chambers. His hands were shaking. Some of these people had served under his father. He had grown up hearing stories about them, the lost soldiers who never came home. Get them out, he ordered. His voice cracked. Get them all out, and broadcast everything. I want the whole galaxy to see what the Kalori did while the Council looked away. The broadcast went live. Every species in the galaxy watched as human soldiers opened the stasis chambers. Old men and women stumbled out, confused and weak. They did not know where they were. They did not know that 50 years had passed. They only knew that human faces were looking at them with tears in their eyes. You are going home, General Daesung told them. We never forgot you. We never stopped looking. On Nexus Station, Ambassador Rhea watched the broadcast in horror. She knew the Kellery had done terrible things, but she had not believed they were this terrible. She looked at Commander Braxis, who had gone very still. Did you know? She asked. Braxis did not answer. His silence was answer enough. The Lorthi were next. But humanity did not attack them with weapons. They attacked them with truth. For 30 years, the Lorthi had hidden their crimes against human colonies. They had destroyed records, bribed officials, and lied to the Council. They believed no one would ever find out. Lieutenant Yuna Choi had spent 2 years gathering evidence. She had hacked Lorthi financial systems. She had copied secret documents. She had found every lie, every bribe, every manipulation. At exactly the same moment, the Vexery surrendered. Every communication screen in the galaxy displayed the same message. The Lorthi Economic Council confesses its crimes against humanity. Then the evidence appeared. Documents showing how the Lorthi had deliberately bankrupted human colonies. Records of bribes paid to council officials. Private messages where Lorthi leaders laughed about human suffering. The Lorthi government tried to deny everything, but the evidence was too clear, too complete. Within hours, their trading partners began canceling contracts. Their allies began distancing themselves. Their reputation, built over centuries, collapsed overnight. No shots were fired. No one was hurt. The Lorthi were simply exposed for what they truly were. Eldervon tried desperately to contact humanity. He sent messages to Admiral Tae-jun. He begged for a meeting. He promised to make things right. His calls were ignored. Every single one. Ambassador Rhea broke down in the council chamber. Tears ran down her silver face. Why will they not talk to us? If they wanted to destroy us, they could. Their fleet is larger than ours. Their weapons are better than ours. Why are they doing this instead? Scholar Neth answered her. His voice was sad and tired, because they are not interested in destruction. They are interested in something worse. They want us to know that we deserve what is happening. They want us to understand that every action they take is justified. They want us to see ourselves through their eyes. And what do they see? Neth looked at the screens, showing Vexari ships surrendering, Kelori slaves being freed, Lorathe's secrets being exposed. They see species who hurt them and got away with it. They see a council that chose convenience over justice. They see allies who abandoned them when they needed help. He paused. They see people who are not worthy of conversation.
Ow.
On the silent dawn, Lieutenant Unichoi compiled the final report. 0 human casualties. 0 alien civilian casualties. Every target was military, criminal, or political. Humanity had proven they could have burned the galaxy. Instead, they had chosen precision. Dr. Hannah Kim reviewed the numbers. The Vexari military is crippled for a generation. The Kelor slave trade is exposed and finished. The Loruthi will never recover their reputation. And we did not kill a single innocent. Was it enough? Yuna asked. It was not about enough. It was about sending a message. We are not the monsters they thought we were. We are something more frightening. We are patient. We are precise. And we remember everything. Captain Minho Park entered the command center. Admiral Tae-jun has given the order. The fleet is moving to Nexus Station. Dr. Kim nodded. Then it is time for the final step. The human fleet arrived at Nexus Station within hours. They did not attack. They simply surrounded the station and waited. Hundreds of ships forming a perfect ring around the heart of the Galactic Council. Inside the council chamber, every representative watched the human fleet through the windows. No one spoke. No one moved. They could only wait. Finally, Captain Minho Park's face appeared on the main screen. His expression was the same as before. Calm, patient, cold. This is Captain Park of the United Earth Fleet. Admiral Tae-jun will address the Galactic Council in 1 hour. You will clear the main chamber. You will prepare for his arrival. And you will listen to what he has to say.
Eldervon
stepped forward. Captain, please. Can we discuss terms before there is nothing to discuss? Captain Park's voice cut through his words like a blade. You had 200 years to discuss. That time is over. The Admiral will speak. You will listen. That is all. The screen went dark. Eldervon looked around the chamber at the other representatives. He saw fear in every face. Fear and shame. They had thought humans were weak because they filed complaints instead of firing weapons. They had thought humans were foolish because they believed in rules and justice. They had been wrong. Humans were not weak. They were patient, and now their patience had run out. In 1 hour, Admiral Tae-jun would speak, and the galaxy would learn the true price of ignoring human pain. The council chamber had never been so quiet. Representatives from 47 species sat in their seats, but no one whispered. No one moved. They simply waited, watching the main door. Eldervon had lived for 300 years. He had faced assassins, wars, and plagues, but he had never felt fear like this. His hearts beat too fast. His hands would not stop shaking. He tried to prepare words to say, apologies to offer. But his mind was empty. The door opened. Admiral Tae-jun walked in alone. He wore a simple uniform, dark blue with no decorations. He carried no weapons. He was not tall. He was not physically impressive. But when he entered the room, every representative shrank back in their seats. There was something in his eyes. Not anger. Not hatred. Something worse. Complete certainty. The look of a man who knew exactly what he was going to do and had made peace with it long ago. He walked to the center of the chamber and stood, where thousands of speakers had stood before him. He looked around at the council members. Some tried to meet his gaze. Most could not. When he spoke, his voice was quiet. He did not yell. He did not threaten. He spoke like a teacher explaining a simple lesson to slow students. You called us aggressive when we defended ourselves. The words hung in the air. No one responded. Called us emotional when we mourned our dead. Elder Vaughn opened his mouth to speak. Admiral Tae-jun raised one hand, and Vaughn fell silent. You called us dangerous when we asked for justice. You were right about one thing. He paused. His eyes moved slowly around the room, touching every face. We are dangerous. Ambassador Rhea felt tears forming in her eyes. She wanted to apologize. She wanted to explain, but she knew that nothing she said would matter. The time for talking had passed 200 years ago. But not because we love war, Admiral Tae-jun continued. We hate war. We have seen what it costs. We have buried our children in soil far from home. We have carried our wounded through fields of fire. We know war better than any species in this room. He took a step forward. Several representatives flinched. We are dangerous because we remember. Every name of every person killed on New Busan, I know them all. I read them every morning before I eat breakfast. 40,000 names. It takes 3 hours. His voice remained calm, but something dark moved beneath the surface. Every child who starved because the Larathi wanted more profit. Every soldier sold into slavery while this council told us to let it go, to move forward, to stop being so emotional. He looked directly at Commander Braxis. The Cavalry warrior could not meet his eyes. We remember all of it. Every wrong. Every lie. Every broken promise. We wrote it all down. We shared it with each other. We let our anger become something cold and patient and precise. I stopped walking. He stood in the exact center of the chamber, surrounded by species that had thought they were superior to humanity. And now you understand what our silence means. Elder Vaughn finally found his voice. It was weak and broken. Admiral Tae-jun, please. We did not know. We did not understand. The council made mistakes, yes, but surely we can find a way forward together. Together. Admiral Tae-jun smiled. It was the saddest smile Vaughn had ever seen. For 200 years, we asked to work together. We asked for fairness. We asked for justice. You gave us nothing. Now you want to be partners? He shook his head slowly. We are not here to negotiate. We are here to explain what will happen next. He pulled out a small device and projected a document into the air above the chamber. It was simple and short. Only for items. First, complete reparations to all human colonies affected by Vexery attacks, Larathi economic manipulation, and Kelori border conflicts. The amount has been calculated fairly. You have 1 year to pay. No one objected. Second, the Vexery Syndicate's military will be reduced to defensive forces only. Any ship that enters human space will be destroyed without warning. The Vexery representative lowered his head in shame. Third, all humans held in Kelori slavery will be returned to Earth. Full medical care. Full compensation. Any Kelori involved in the slave trade will face justice under human law. Commander Braxis said nothing. He stared at the floor like a child caught doing something terrible. Fourth, the council voting system will be restructured. Humanity will have equal representation. Our complaints will receive equal attention. No species will be allowed to ignore our concerns again. Admiral Tae-jun turned off the projection. These are not requests. These are terms. If you refuse, we go silent again. And you have learned what our silence means. Elder Vaughn looked around the chamber. He saw defeat in every face. There was no fight left. No resistance. The council had been broken by an enemy that had never fired a shot at their civilians, never destroyed their homes, never acted with anything but cold and precise justice. The council accepts these terms, Vaughn said. His voice was barely a whisper. All of them. Good. He turned to leave. At the door, he stopped and looked back one final time. Did not want this. We wanted to be your friends. We wanted to be partners in building something beautiful. But you taught us that kindness is weakness. You taught us that patience is foolishness. You taught us that justice only comes to those who can take it. He opened the door. We learned your lessons well. Remember that the next time you think about treating another species the way you treated us. Humanity is always watching, and we never forget. He left the chamber. The door closed behind him. No one spoke for a very long time. 1 year later, Dr. Hannah Kim stood in the same chamber. She was now humanity's permanent ambassador to the Galactic Council. She wore a simple dress and a kind smile. She spoke politely to every representative. She attended every meeting. She never missed a vote. But Ambassador Rhea noticed something. Dr. Kim never smiled with her eyes. Her kindness was perfect, professional, and completely empty. Behind it was the same cold patience that Admiral Tae-jun had shown, the same long memory, the same quiet warning. The galaxy had changed. Human colonies received their compensation. The freed slaves had returned home to families who had never stopped hoping. The Lorthy economy had collapsed and rebuilt under new leadership. The Vexery Syndicate was a shadow of its former self, and the Council had learned to listen when humans spoke. Scholar. Neth spent months updating the Galactic Archive entry on humanity. He deleted the old classifications that called them aggressive, emotional, dangerous. He wrote something new instead. Human classification updated. Previous assessments were incomplete. Do not mistake their silence for weakness. Do not mistake their patience for forgiveness. Do not mistake their kindness for submission. Humanity remembers. Treat them fairly, and they will be the greatest friends the galaxy has ever known. Wrong them, and they will wait until you forget your sin. Then they will remind you. Approach with respect and honesty. Never lie to a human. They will find out. They always find out. Far away, aboard the Silent Dawn. Captain Minho Park watched Earth growing smaller as his fleet returned to patrol duty. Lieutenant Unichoi stood beside him. Do you think peace will last? She asked. Captain Park thought about it for a long time. He thought about the council chamber. He thought about Admiral Tae-jun's words. He thought about the rescued slaves crying as they saw Earth for the first time. He thought about the silence that had brought them here. Peace lasts as long as they remember to be afraid, he said finally. Not afraid of our weapons. Not afraid of our ships. Afraid of what happens when they hurt us and think we have forgotten. He looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, 47 species were watching humanity, wondering what they would do next, wondering if the silence would return. We gave them justice, Captain Park said. We showed them mercy. We proved we could destroy and chose not to. Now they know who we are. What they do with that knowledge is up to them. Una nodded. And if they forget? If they hurt us again? Captain Park smiled. It was a quiet smile, tired but unbroken. Then we go silent. We remember, we plan. And when we are ready, we remind them why they should never have forgotten. He turned back to the stars. That is what it means to be human. We forgive when we are asked. We help when we are needed. But we never, ever forget. And the galaxy is finally learning to remember that. The Silent Dawn jumped to faster than light travel, disappearing into the darkness between stars. Behind it, a galaxy held its breath, hoping that the new peace would last. And somewhere in the Galactic Archive, Scholar Neff's final note glowed on a screen. Humanity remembers, never give them a reason to go silent again.